American heroes come in many shapes and sizes. There are firemen and nurses, school teachers and research scientists, cops and paramedics, and mothers finding a way to make a better life for their children. And sometimes they fight wars, reach for the stars, test limits, and attain the rank of general. Chuck Yeager is that kind of an American hero. And only in California can a guy that doesn't fly introduce a guy that is the greatest pilot of all time. I was bragging to Chuck when I got my first bus. I used to take a train, and then I got on a bus, and I was telling him, this is great. A train used to take me 3 days. Now on a bus, it takes me 2 days to get across the country. And he said, I did it in 1 hour. So you did what? Said he did it in 1 hour. At Mach 3, he went across the country. And he said that he had to start slowing up in Ohio to land in New York. Now that's flying. What the hell I do? Anyway, that was just an insertion that had to go there along with biting the line. Fresh out of West Virginia High School, 18-year-old Chuck Yeager enlisted in the Army Air Corps in 1941. By 1943, he was flying missions over France and Germany. On his first 8 missions, he shot down 2 German fighters. On his 9th mission, he was shot down over German-occupied France. He was rescued by the French resistance and made his way back to the base in England. And after a personal appeal to General Eisenhower, he returned to combat. He flew 63 more missions, including shooting down 13 enemy planes, including amazing 5 in 1 day. After the war, Yeager trained as a test pilot, and he was assigned to what is now Edwards Air Force Base in California's high desert, and he was chosen to work in the top secret XS-1 project. His job was to climb into a bullet-shaped rocket-powered aircraft that no one had ever flown and get them to go as fast as possible. That's something. So on October 14th, 1947, listen, this is back in 40 and 7 now. 47, he climbed into glamorous Glennis, the X-1 rocket plans named after his life, popped a stick of Beeman's gum into his mouth. Now that's tough. I mean, when you're going to go faster than anyone's ever gone, and all you need is a stick of Beeman's, you are tough. That's you belong in a lot of Hall of Fame. You always think, how would you do that? What would you do? Say, fly as fast as you can, and here you're going to do it. And well, give me a stick of gum, and I'll do that. And doing that, he set off a sonic boom over the California desert that would echo around the world. After Yeager, perhaps because of Yeager, jet travel became commonplace. Rocket ships were launched towards the heavens, and man walked on the moon. Without Yeager and fearless men like him, none of that would have been possible. He wasn't done, of course. He experimented with in-flight retraining and the first flawless transatlantic deployment of a jet fighter squadron, and he trained many astronauts in spaceflight. During the Vietnam War, he commanded the 405th Fighter Wing, and in 1968 was promoted to brigadier general, making him one of the few in the Air Force history to rise from enlisted man to general. He retired from the Air Force in 1975, but didn't make his last flight until October 14, 1997, when he celebrated his 50th anniversary of breaking the sound barrier. I was in the X-1 by flying faster than the speed of sound one more time in an F-15 fighter jet. The state of California honors General Chuck Yeager, an American original.
I gave that coach a picture about an hour ago of an Airbus 380 that carries 800 people. And I flew it last year at Toulouse, France. And I wrote on that picture, geez, Coach, I finally found an airplane that can lift you off the ground. I'm deeply honored to be honored with these people that I've admired all of my life, because I'm not quite as old as they are. And, you know, with the risk of being chewed out by the governor, I'll deviate a little bit from the script and go back to where I was born and raised in West Virginia, in a town of about 400 people. My father was a natural gas driller. I was trained as a mechanic and had a feel for mechanics. And actually, when I enlisted in the Army Air Corps in 1941, in fact, in September of 1941, America was mobilizing. And there were 18 boys in my senior class. We had a very small high school. And all 18 enlisted in the Army Air Corps, or the Navy, or the Marines. Why I enlisted in the Army Air Corps was because the recruiters probably a little better than the other recruiters. And I was lucky enough to get into I had never seen an airplane on the ground because I was raised up in hollows in West Virginia where they had to pipe daylight to us. And when I got in the military, I was a trained mechanic and a skilled mechanic. And that was one of the reasons, after the war, when I returned to Wright Field as a maintenance officer in a fighter test section, that was one of the reasons that I was selected to fly the X-1, because the machinery in the X-1 that we use 6,000 pounds of nitrogen gas pressure to pressurize liquid oxygen tanks and water alcohol tanks, those systems were identical to the systems in the natural gas fields where I worked for my father in operating with gas pressures of 6,000 pounds. And that was the reason, because I was talented in that field and I obviously could fly an airplane. Now, in fact, 3 weeks ago, I was participating in the open house air show at Edwards and was flying an F-16 along with Joe Engel, astronaut, a friend of mine that I trained in the astronaut school. And it was fun to get up there and back up to the Colorado River and smoke in the afterburner and get out to about 1.4 Mach and lay that real good sonic boom down at Muroc. And when I landed, you know, the announcer goes through a big hype, you know, hey, man, real big deal. You're General Yeager. He not only was the first guy to fly fast and sound, he's the oldest mother that ever flew fast and sound. So I enjoyed it very much. Now, tonight, you know, it's hard to explain the feelings that you have when you're honored with people like you have been honored tonight. And consequently, I get a lot of mail from kids, and they say, how can I be a pilot like you? I go back and say, those that do it on their own are the best. And that's the way I can answer mine. I wasn't trained or given anything. I was just talented and worked in maintenance. And I always have had one thought in mind. All of my career, I fought in 4 wars, in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and Pakistan. And I always tell people, I looked at all of my flying all over the world in different missions as my duty. I didn't receive rewards other than this great reward tonight. It makes you feel very humble, like I spent the majority of my life flying in California, because, as I mentioned before, there didn't have any airfields in West Virginia.